Welcome to Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, back again with another episode, y'all. I want to tell y'all this story about this guy that approached me the other day. I didn't even remember him, but the other day he pulled up on me to thank me for helping him out of a situation years ago, right? And I want to share that story with you because something happened to him that added to that story of what I did for him years ago that amazed me. And it's just something that I want to share with y'all. So I hope that it's something that inspires you, even under these circumstances. Every now and then somebody in here does something that will really shock you. And this really shocked me, and it pleased me too at the same time that he was able to do, what he said he did. Now, I'm going to share that with y'all, right? So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Yeah, check this out, y'all. Years ago, this other institution, right? This guy, I'm going to call him Bill, he came into the prison system with a fresh 45-year sentence, if I'm not mistaken. It was 45 or 50, but it was a fresh sentence, right? And he had to do, I think, 85% of that before he would be eligible for release. So when he got to the compound, he's a young man, 19, 20 years old. They put him in a pod that had a reputation of being kind of rough, So day one, I mean off the rip, day one that they put him in there, these three guys that got at him. I'm talking about they went at him in a way that, most people out there they're just not familiar with, right? They beat him, pulled him into their cell. They waited till the officer got up and left and went to use the restroom. They approached him and told him to step into the room. They wanted to talk to him. He's young, green, doesn't know any better. He walked in there, and I'm talking about they put hands on him out this world. I'm talking about beat him, wouldn't let him leave. And he's down on the floor, bleeding. They kick him all in the face. They wouldn't even let him leave the cell for about an hour and a half is what I was told by him, right? So after that beating, while he's still in the room, they tell him from here on out, when you go to the commissary, you bring it to us. When we're around and somebody's talking to us, you need to be standing nearby in case we need you. They basically turned him into a do-boy, right? They didn't rape him or do anything like that, but they used to make him clean their cell. They used to make him wash their clothes by hand, underwears, wash them by hand, T-shirts, wash them by hand. He was basically their slave. And this went on for months, y'all. I'm talking about months. So after a while, after about 5 or 6 months, the unit manager, and the unit manager is somebody that is responsible for the units that we live in. So it's kind of like at college where you have a dorm supervisor, somebody like that that's in charge of the kids. A unit manager is like that, but it's on a higher level. You know what I'm saying? So the unit manager noticed that every time Bill would get his commissary, he wouldn't have anything in his room. I mean, they took everything from him. He would have to go to their rooms to use deodorant, to brush his teeth. They kept all of that stuff in the room. When he had to go take a shower, he stripped down in his room but go to their room to get soap, towel, and washcloth so he can go to the shower. They totally just dominated his space. They let him keep his TV in his room so he would have something to do at night. But all of his shelves, other than his state clothes, were empty. They kept him in their room, so he would have to come to them, totally dependent on them. So like I said, after about 5 or 6 months, the unit manager noticed this, and she went to him, and she asked him what was going on, and he wouldn't tell her anything because he was afraid. So she took it upon herself to move him to the unit that I lived in. Now, don't know this man from Adam, but when he gets to the unit, the first week that he gets commissary, these three dudes come down to the unit and call him to the door and tell him to bring him his commissary. So he took his commissary to them, and I'm watching it, and we're sitting at the table like, dang, what's going on? I'm thinking it might be a drug debt, poker debt, something like that, right? That's not my business. I'm not worried about it. But he had been hanging around a couple of the younger brothers, and the younger brothers had gotten close to him. So they bumped down on him and said, what is going on, man? And he told them. And that surprised me, you know what I'm saying, as the story goes. Anyway, you'll see why I was surprised. But anyway, he told them what was going on. So one of the younger brothers, he stepped to me and said, hey, big bro, I need to talk to you. So he gives me the rundown on what's going on, right? And I'm like, that's not our business. And he said, man, can we help him, though? And I said, do you really want to help him? And he was like, yeah. I said, the business in here, when you get put under GD protection, they usually cost you, right? And I said, can he pay? He was like, he ain't got nothing, man. He said, I just don't like the way they're doing it. I said, bring him to me. So he brought the young brother to the cell, and he's in the cell with me, my COS, and my number 2. And we're chilling with the younger brother, too. And I said, man, what's going on with you, man? Why these guys keep taking your stuff from you? And he started crying. And, you know, this is a young man, you know what I'm saying? And we're in prison, but he breaks down. And I told him, I said, man, you don't have to worry about that in here. Tell me what's going on. And he had heard about us, GD. He knows who I am, but he don't know who I am. You understand what I'm saying? So he's telling us what's going on, and I'm getting pissed, but I got to weigh it up. I got to weigh this up because this is not our business. And I really need to find out what's going on with these 3 individuals. Now, they were not affiliated either, right? But they had a reputation on the compound of being bullies. They had a reputation for taking people's stuff, extorting them. And they had beat this boy to the point to where he felt like he had no choice. So after I told him to leave the room, I'm talking to my number 2 and my COS, and I'm like, what do you want to do about this, man? Do you even want to get involved in it? And they were like, yeah, let's get involved in this. This is one of those things, man, we can do a good deed, right? And I'm like, all right, we do good deeds now. You know what I'm saying? So when we stepped out of the cell, I told the young brother to come to the table and sit down. And when I talked to him, I said, this is what you do. Next week, you order your commissary. And when they call you to the door, you go to the door and tell them you're not giving it to them. And then we'll take it from there. I just need you to stand up to them that one time, and we'll take it from there. So he's looking at me. He's terrified. I see it in his face. I said, bro, we're not going to let anything happen to you, but I got to hear you tell them that you're not giving them anything anymore. I got to hear you say that. You got to say that to them. And not, like I say, he's young and don't know who I am, but he's starting to get a sense. So he looked at me. He said, yes, sir. I said, you don't have to say yes, sir, to me. You don't have to say yes, sir, to me. But when I was looking at him, I can imagine this being my son. He was young, and he was afraid, and he had been brutalized by these 3 guys when he came in. They had no justification for doing it. He didn't owe them any money. They just wanted to make sure that they had another source of income. And that was by making somebody a slave. So anyway, the week comes up, commissary day. He orders the full load. Got a big bag, plenty of stuff in there. They come to the door. Where that bag at, boy? He goes to the door. He said, man, I ain't getting y'all nothing no more, and leave me alone. And walked away. Turned around and walked away. Worst thing you can do in here, you don't turn your back. I didn't tell him that. I didn't tell him what was going on with that, but I should have prepped him a little bit better than that. But he turned his back on him and walked away. So one of the other ones that was with him, them 3 brothers, he grabbed him by his shirt. By that time, my COS and about 5 of the brothers stepped up and said, get your hands off of him. So he let him go. And that's when the COS told him and said, man, look here, man, he under GD protection, man. You put your hands on him again, you know what it is. They're like, man, why y'all in our business? And my COS said, this is our business now. What you want to do? Then they walked away. At that point, it was nobody on that compound that could put their hands on him without dealing with us. Everybody knew what it was. No, he did not become the folks. We didn't put any pressure on him to become the folks. None of that. It was just one of the younger brothers took a liking to him, and he wanted him to be protected. And we did it. And I felt good about it. But honestly, I'm going to tell you, I forgot about him until the other day. He saw me in the hallway and he said, Joe T, can I talk to you? And I looked at him. I don't recognize him from a man in the moon. And I was like, yeah, do I know you? He was like, yeah. And he reminded me of the situation. And he said, man, I want to thank you for that. I said, bet that, man. I said, what you doing down here? And he told me this, he told me that. But the best part of this story is what I'm getting ready to tell you. He said that he saw one of the guys recently in the hospital that had assaulted him. And he worked down there. I said, really? I was like, man, what did you do when you saw him? He said, man, I'm going to kill him. I really wanted to kill him. I said, nah, I don't do it. He said, nah, I didn't do it. He said, but when I saw him, he said, I plotted. I got me a butcher. I was finna get him. I'm like, wow. He was like, yeah. He said, I saw him. I said, but why didn't you do it? He said, when I went into his room, he was in the bed. And he was laying in the bed, and I walked up on him. I said, you don't even remember me, do you? And he said, no. And he said, Joe T, I had the pocket knife in my hand. I was ready to stab him. I just wanted him to say that he remembered me. But he looked at me, and he said, I don't remember you. And then he said, who are you? He said, and he told him his name. And he said, I don't remember you, young man. Now, this dude is laying in the bed. And what he found out, what Bill found out, is dude has got dementia. He's frail, laying in the bed, don't know anything about his surroundings. No, he's terrified. So the man that beat Bill told him, said, look, can you help me? So Bill said, help you how? Now keep in mind, Bill had went in there to hurt him, to kill him, in fact. He said, can you help me? And he said, what do you need me to do? Just like that, Bill said, what do you need me to do? He said, can you get me some socks? The man pulled his feet out from under the covers. He had no socks. He said, the room's cold, man, and my feet get cold at night. I said, man, so what did you do? He said, the next day, man, I took him a pair of socks up there. I said, wow. I said, so when you found out the man had dementia, is that what stopped you from doing what you did? And he was like, man, when I was looking at him laying in that bed, I said, I just couldn't do it. This person that I was looking at wasn't the person that did that to me them years ago. He said, this wasn't him. This person didn't have no violence in him. He didn't even know where he was at. And he said, ever since then, I go up there whenever I can to work. And he always wants me to come to the cell and talk to him. I go in there, I read to him, and he calls me son. I'm like, wow. I said, so what'd you get out of that, man? He said, man, I learned that all of them years, man, plotting and hating them dudes for what they did to me, he said that God took care of that for me. I said, whoa, are you getting it now? He said, like, yeah, God took care of that for me. He said, it might not be in the time that we want it, but it's going to be right, fair, and just. He said, don't nobody get away. Don't nobody get away. He said, I didn't deserve what they did to me at all. But he said, if I would have went back and killed him or killed any one of them, they wouldn't have deserved that for me. And I'm like, why not? He said, because I don't have the right to take somebody's life. I don't have the right to do that. Because they didn't see the humanity in me didn't mean that I had to, could close my eyes to seeing the humanity in them. I stood there looking at him while he's saying all this stuff to me, right? And I'm like, boy, it sounds to me like you've grown up a lot. He's like, yeah. He said, man, I really wanted to kill dude, man. But when I looked at him, I didn't see the person that hurt me. I didn't see the person that kicked me in my face. I didn't see that person. I saw a person that was afraid and scared, unsure. He said, that's what I saw. And I just wanted to help him. So I forgave him. on the spot, and the other two. He said, I don't know where they're at. I don't even know if they're still alive. He said, but I forgave all of them that day, and I kept it moving. And he said, now I go up there and I read to him, help feed him sometime, you know. And he looks forward to me coming up there. I said, man, that's real right there. I said, I appreciate you bringing me that story. Appreciate you sharing that with me. And he was like, yeah. He said, but like I said, I just wanted to thank you for what you did when you helped me out to keep them from hurting me. He said, stuff comes full circle, man. And I said, yeah, I feel you on that, right? I'm learning that myself, right? I just wanted to share that with all of you because I know a lot of times we go through stuff and we think that, you know, God is not with us, that he's not going to help protect us or whatever. But that's just not true. He's always there. Whatever's going on with you, it may seem unfair. And it may in fact be unfair as far as our minds can understand it. But you never know how God is going to touch somebody through an act, a brutal act. You never know how God is going to pull you closer to him through your suffering. I'm not saying I want to volunteer for it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this young man blessed me. Well, he's not young anymore. He's younger than me. But this brother blessed me with this story. And it was just one of the most profound things that I've ever heard. This man is taking care of the person that brutalized him a couple of decades ago. And the man that he's taking care of, this person that was this animal towards him, doesn't even remember him. Now, what would you do? Would you take care of the person that brutalized you if they didn't remember you? Would you take care of them if they apologized to you and they needed your help? What would you do? I want to know. Hit me up in the comments section about this one, y'all. This is one of those that I don't know what a lot of people would do. I'm not sure what I would do. I'm going to think about it. I might do another episode about this to tell you what I would do. But what I will say is that I would hope that I would be strong enough to do what this brother did. I do. I hope that I would be strong enough. But that's what I've wanted to share with y'all. I really am moved by this story, right? And I hope you are too, right? I hope you are too. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.